Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is a sort of breaking news update considering there's some footage that's come out today and President Zelensky of Ukraine has announced some, I don't know if you can call it cryptic statements concerning deep strikes into Russia. So let's give some greater context. No reports here stating that yesterday morning Ukrainian cruise missiles struck the border area near the Voloshyne, that's Armyansk district border area. This is the border between Crimea and I think the oblasts above, so it's not technically the border, hitting a Russian border outpost according to Astra, although I guess Crimea would have been an area that would have been under Russian control, de facto control, so the Russians might see it as a border, but you get the point. You've got Kherson Oblast here on the northwest and Crimea down here. This is Armyansk. Armyansk is just at the northern top left hand side, northwestern end of the Crimean Peninsula. You can get on to Crimea, the sort of Armyansk area, much wider landmass there. Then you get Chonhar, a few bridges coming off from sort of Zaporizhia direction onto Crimea, a railway bridge and a road bridge. They've been targeted a number of times. And then you've got Henichesk further over to the east, which has a sandbar and some areas of entry there. So three kind of choke points for the Russian logistics, one being here in the northwest at Armyansk. Now, this has been hit by cruise missiles. That's really significant. Will it be Storm Shadows and Scalp-EGs? Probably not. Hitting a Russian border outpost. According to Astra, 6 hovercraft were damaged and 1 serviceman was killed. Additionally, a drone struck a military barracks in the same area. Wow. Okay, so we've got the claim that cruise missiles have been used in the last 24 hours. Then we hear President Zelensky announcing that new strikes deep inside Russia are imminent, with both forces and capabilities already in place. So his actual words, I believe, were, "We will continue our active actions exactly as needed to defend Ukraine. Forces and means are prepared. New deep strikes have also been planned." This is quite threatening rhetoric, I guess, from Zelensky. And he says that alongside this video being released today of Flamingo cruise missiles, the FP5 from the company Firepoint, being fired, one presumes, as Anton Gerashenko says, at targets. So this isn't testing, one could claim, but actually these are being sent at Russian targets. You can see 3 launches here. Again, one presumes all 3 fired missiles. Let's look at the video, all 30 seconds of it. And we can see that the kind of motor for the rocket is gearing up, and that's it being ejected from the Flamingo, and the Flamingo missile then fires off. We have a second one going there, and one presumes a third one follows. Here we go. So that's 3 Flamingos being sent up towards the Russian positions. Again, that is a supposition that is not testing. I don't think you would test lining 3 up like that. Personally, it'd be a rather expensive test. So we can assume, I think, they're sent at the Russians. And then we hear this coming from the Russians. There is information, says this Google Translate of the Russian statement, there is information that the Ukrainian armed forces are preparing strikes deep into Russia today. So they talk about that being today. Be careful. Try not to listen to loud music, and it's even better to go for a walk or sit at home without it. In other words, you want to be listening out for air alarms. The Ministry of Emergency Situations will send out notifications as usual. Do not ignore the information and take care of yourself. So the Russians appear to be taking this seriously. We have precursor for Ukrainian cruise missiles being used potentially in the north of Crimea in the last 24 hours. We have Zelensky making some announcements, and then that being made alongside FP5 Flamingo cruise missiles being sent at Russian targets. Maybe they were used to strike those positions in Armyansk, although these are missiles that supposedly have a range of 3,000 kilometers with a warhead of 1,150 kilograms. So I'm not sure that they're the sorts of things that you would, scare quotes, waste against a Armyansk here, because just to give you a sense, I was talking about it before, let's actually put it on the map. Here's Andrew Perpetua's map. Armyansk is, merely here, right? And that's not exactly a huge distance from Ukraine proper, if you like. So say you're launching these from somewhere relatively safe back in Kherson Oblast, Ukrainian side, you've got 120 kilometers. Well, most of their half decent drones can do that. Indeed, you've probably got medium range drones that can do that. You're kind of Lancet equivalents. So not that they would be big enough to destroy the sorts of things that you hear being destroyed there, but you get my point. I'm not sure that they would use Flamingos to do that. We're talking about strikes deep into Russia. That's what Zelensky just said, but it could be that, that was a precursor with some other kind of cruise missiles that they've developed, or maybe they weren't actually cruise missiles, but those hybrids munitions. So you hear about these missile drones like the Peklo, Paliantsia, those kinds of things. They could have been sent into Armyansk, and now you've got the opportunity, or the Ukrainians have the opportunity to send, I don't know, something 3,000 kilometers. So now you're talking about, I don't know, this kind of range. In fact, you can on here produce a 3,000 kilometer range circle. So let's do that. Good old, good old Andrew Perpetua's map here. Oh, don't want that. So we'll take this circle. I don't think I've cocked it all up, but you get the point. You can hit an awful lot of stuff within a 3,000 kilometer range. So all of that together, I think, is interesting, and the Russians are certainly somewhat worried. So we might have an interesting 24, 36, 48, 72 hours ahead, depending on how imminently these strikes would be. If Zelensky is indeed telling the truth, new deep strikes inside Russia are imminent. What does imminent mean? But we'll keep our eyes peeled and see if anything takes place, particularly tonight. Anyway, in the meantime, take care. I'll speak to you soon.